I'm Maitreyi Sitharaman. In this final episode of the third season of Real Economy, we're coming full circle to the hotly debated issue of deepening Europe's economic and monetary union. What does that mean for you and I? And what's the plan? Is it even achievable in these difficult times? We'll put those questions to the European Commission's Vice President for the Euro and Social Dialogue, Valdis Dombrovskis, and then ask if Europe's plan can circumvent the obstacle of the divergence we're seeing in our economies that has brought these debates about immigration and Brexit straight to our dinner tables. Europeans in 19 countries use the euro, with the rest of the EU destined for it, with the exception of the UK and Denmark. A quarter of the world's foreign exchange reserves are also parked in euros, with 60 countries and territories pegging, directly or indirectly, their currencies to this reserve currency. So it becomes imperative for us to understand the economic and monetary union that makes this possible.
Europe's Economic and Monetary Union, or EMU, kicked off in 1957 with the idea of ensuring stability, growth and employment. Practically, the EMU means member countries coordinate their economic and fiscal policies. The European Central Bank, or ECB, creates monetary policy independent of politics. The same rules and supervisions apply for all euro area financial institutions. And most important, a single currency for members. All this is coordinated by national governments and 5 EU institutions. The European Council sets the policies. The Council of Europe decides who can have the euro. The Eurogroup coordinates actions. Member states set their own budgets and determine their own structures and policies. The Commission monitors everyone's compliance. The ECB sets the monetary policy. And the European Parliament works with the Council to create laws and make sure economic governance can be monitored by citizen representatives.
A sluggish economy, 18 million unemployed in the Eurozone, puts massive pressure on the action plan of the 5 presidents of Europe's key institutions to deepen the EMU. It's ambitious. So let's first start with where we are today.
The 5 presidents of the EU's main institutions put together a report in 2015 to deepen the EMU and avoid another crisis. Implementation began in October, with the roadmap split into 2 stages. Stage 1 will complete in June 2017, using current treaties to boost competitiveness and complete the financial union by merging fiscal policies at the national and euro area level. Stage 2 will be done by 2025, and will need treaty changes to bring about fiscal, monetary, financial and political union, and even create a euro area treasury. The first results of Stage 1 will be announced in June 2016, and a plan for next steps in spring 2017.
It's my pleasure to welcome Valdis Dombrovskis back to Real Economy. He is, of course, the man in charge of the Euro and Social Dialogue. Let's talk about Stage 1, because Fiscal Board, Deposit Insurance, the IMF representative, nothing specific has really been announced.
Well, there I would like to make a correction. Right now, Dutch presidency is intensively working on those proposals. It concerns completing the banking union, including creation of European deposit insurance scheme. It concerns Commission proposal on setting up a European Fiscal Board, where the work is already ongoing, and also legislative proposal on the external representation in the euro area in IMF is also filed by the Commission.
How close are we to achieving any of those? Because 2017 is not that far away.
Exactly. Time frame is quite ambitious. So last December, European Council tasks the finance ministers to work intensively on this and to report back to the Council by June this year. And, if needed, are ready to modify our proposals in order to achieve consensus on those issues.
Next step necessary also mentions a political union. What is that? Because no one seems to be able to give me a definition.
Well, on political union, it means strengthening the democratic legitimacy of our decision-making as regards economic and fiscal policies. This is one element which has been discussed, often criticized.
Does it mean loss of sovereignty?
Stronger involvement of national parliaments actually means stronger sovereignty, if you want. It's also worth outlining that it will mean also more common decision-making. And of course, it will imply some sovereignty sharing. And we will need to find the right balance between sovereignty sharing and risk sharing.
On that note, this is the time to reflect very seriously. Our divergent economies, stagnation, unemployment all have the potential to make the disenfranchised even louder in their skepticism. Debates around Brexit and immigration all derive from that, as Guillaume Desjardins analyses the risks we face today.
Driving through Europe, we tend to forget about borders, but in Berla, you can jump from one country to another. And depending on which side of the village you live, sovereignty becomes a key factor in everyday life. Differences between Eurozone countries, such as Belgium and here in the Netherlands, can be considerable. The challenge is to get everyone to agree.
There is more work to be done on the banking union. There is more to be done in terms of coherent, cohesive supervision and a clear delineation between who does what when in that area. And I think the political union clearly warrants more efforts.
And it's a complex dance still being choreographed, with finding a balance between the goals of each member state on the Euro stage the only way to reach a consensus.
Countries don't want to give up their sovereignty. Political leaders want to maintain their degree of freedom, and national parliaments don't want to delegate authority to the European Parliament.
And herein lie the challenges, some outside the remit of current treaties. In order to deepen the EMU, 4 pillars will need to be tackled: the fiscal pillar, the financial pillar, the economic pillar and the political pillar. But they don't all face the same challenges.
It's a particular problem with the European construction. Many people say, okay, we propose this construction because this is the best for us. And they don't think about the 20, 30, perhaps 50 years where this construction has to serve many other purposes. On fiscal policy, no real progress has been made. And on political union, we have only to look at the present crisis to see how far people are away. So I think outside the financial area, it's very difficult to make progress.
Inking an agreement is complicated. The first obstacle is getting it signed at a national level with referendums or parliamentary agreements. Then a second obstacle, the complex rules at the European level to make it legally binding, which sometimes can mean treaty changes.
A treaty revision is achieved through the agreement of all member states, and there may potentially be a need for some to hold a referendum, and this is extremely problematic.
Other current European issues not related to economics could create a diversion on the path to a deeper EMU. It's going to be a tough road ahead to keep to deadlines. The first test of the commitment of European citizens will be in June, when the UK holds its membership referendum. The clock is ticking.
Still with us is Vice President Valdis Dombrovskis. Are you hearing any criticism of, for example, the fiscal board not having enough teeth, the competition board not making sense across 28?
Those are meant to be advisory institutions which are monitoring, for example, member states' fiscal performance or member states' competitiveness factors and advising the governments. Then it's, of course, still for the governments to take the decisions and still for the parliaments to legislate.
Do you think member states will accept it because more Europe seems to scare people?
If you look at economic and monetary union, during the last couple of years, a lot of things had been done actually to deepen EMU already. Creation of European stability mechanism, creation of the banking union, strengthened economic and fiscal surveillance European semester, Recent Greek crisis is a very good example. It couldn't have been much more turbulent, but stability of the euro area as a whole was not questioned. So lots of things had been done already during the last couple of years, something which needs to be acknowledged.
Divergence in our economies is really creating this wall against a deeper union. If we haven't sorted out that, how do we deepen?
Unfortunately, since a financial and economical crisis, this process has stalled. And this is the underlying motive of completing of economic and monetary union.
Would the convergence then take back into consideration of the fiscal transfers that do tend to take place?
We already have EU budget and certain policies which ensure fiscal transfers among member states. Five Presidents' report actually explicitly mentions that it's not meant to be a new permanent transfer mechanism.
For all the European citizens who are watching right now, and they're talking about Brexit, they're talking about immigration issues, how do you convince them of the way forward for Europe to deepen?
We need strong economic fundamentals to deal with different challenges which we are facing, with refugee crisis, with security challenges, and also to convince our citizens that there are benefits in the European project, that we are better off together, and that people start seeing tangible results of economic recovery also in their pockets.
Are the British people listening?
In economic terms, it's much better result both for UK and EU as a whole. It's for UK to stay within the EU.
Vice President, thank you for addressing a very crucial debate at a time in which answers seem really in short supply. And thank you for taking the journey with us in Real Economy. Goodbye.